Tonight I'll be introducing an old family friend, Charles Ip, who it turns out my father worked with when we were here in the early 1970s. For those of you that don't know, I was raised for a few years, young in my life in Hong Kong. So Charles actually worked at the same company that my father worked at, Caterpillar Tractor Company, when we were here back in the day, and has had an amazing career sort of since then, staying in industrial stuff for a little while with a marine company, and then going into the toy business, which apparently all of you are trying to kill. He was telling me earlier about this move to digital and the huge impact that it's having on the toy industry. One of the things that I think we'll be hearing from him tonight, which is very interesting, and I know something that all of you want to know more about, is that whole idea of transmedia, right? So you have an animation, and then you have toys that spin out from that, and all kinds of other merchandise that spin out from that. And he actually is responsible for part of that value chain, right? So he's part of the toy side of the fence. I'll let you tell them more than that, but please join me in welcoming Charles Ip.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks for coming.
And thank you for giving me this opportunity to stand here and say a few words to you. Now, first of all, there is a clarification. I did work with Jeff's father, but we're not the same age. I was a very, very young man, fresh out of college, and his father was already a manager. So I need to establish this clarification. Now, when Gino asked me to come and speak with you, I felt very good. He's a good friend. I haven't done this for a long time, even though I did some of that before. And I gave him an immediate yes. And I told him yes without even asking him, what am I supposed to talk about? And then he worried me. When Paul gave me a description of the course, what is it, digital entertainment technology?
Multimedia entertainment.
Okay, I have no idea what it is. So I got a little worried. Then I was wondering, why am I here? Am I here to waste your time? What can I share with you that you don't know already much better than I do? So we compromised. We compromised in a way that I'm here to speak about the transition into the toy industry and licensing and whatever else you may want to know that I can share. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know, honestly, okay? That's a promise. I won't tell you anything that I make up myself. To a lot of people, I am a toy man. I'm at least branded as a toy man. I'm very active with the Hong Kong Toy Association, both in the manufacturing side as well as the marketing side. I've been actually personally involved not only in the manufacturing of it, but international marketing, actually running a toy company myself, one that you might know. So let me give you a brief description of what my life career took place and what brought me here. And I'll expand on how I made the transition and how the toy business is done these days. And if there is anything that you would like to know more about, I think I would very much encourage your questions, because I honestly do not know your the direction or curriculum. So by asking questions, I would probably not waste so much of your time. I entered Caterpillar with a business degree, not knowing what I was going to do, and then I was thrown into marketing. In marketing, I was lucky enough to get to travel, to get to learn the mechanics of an industrial product, the heavy equipment. that, in a way, sort of brewed an interest in mechanical things, which I didn't realize at my young age. As my career developed in Caterpillar, I got more and more interesting. In fact, I entered Caterpillar in the advertising department. Then I gradually became a sales rep, and then went on to do marketing, and then I got involved in a technical part of it. Till one day, I was headhunted when I was living in Manila to come back to Hong Kong to run a marine engine company, a US marine engine company that sold engines to fishermen as well as the leisure industry. At that point, I was on a management level. I got very little involved in the actual selling of the product, but more of the market development. That gave me the first eye-opening responsibility that I very much welcomed. That was to do technical transfer in China. In the early 80s, China would not buy things as is or as they were. They would always want to make a deal with you, learn how you made it, learn the technicalities of things, and would apply local material and local workmanship into making a Chinese product. You walk into China almost having to give half of yourself away in doing their business. If you're not interested, they're not interested in talking to you. So at the early 80s, China was still a very closed country. That aspect of the business was very interesting and gave me some lifelong memory of how things took place and what the cities were like, how business was done. After a few projects of technical transfer, now basically the deals were like, if you want to sell I better stay here and not move. If you want to sell something, they will pick what they want to learn, and that's what they would buy from you. Certain size, certain models, certain applications, they choose and they ask you, okay, I would want to eventually build these models of engines in China. I will buy some from you initially, and then you're going to have to teach me how to make it. Now, what they demanded were details down to the metallurgical composition. In other words, how a rod, how a spring, how a screw was to be made, including the hardness, surface treatment, and the whole thing. Don't try to cheat them. They find out quick, and they're going to throw you out. So we had to have some very high-level meetings. I remember I was flying back and forth Hong Kong and a place named Waukegan, Illinois, by the lake, to discuss and argued with the president of the company whether or not to do the business and share the valuable technology we learned over the years. So we made compromises again. We chose some, China didn't really want old models, they want new models. So we chose some medium new models and made deals with them. First sold them 1,000 engines, then you have to sell them 5,000 kits, then you have to sell them another 5,000 half kits, and so on. And the contents of the engines that they build will have a declining content of what we ship from America. and more components will be used in China. That actually create a very interesting inquisity in myself as to the manufacturing capability of China and the ultimate future of the China economy. Now, I wish at that time I could project what China was going to be like at that time. I would have stayed there. I would have stayed on to carry on with what I was trying to do. I would have done very, very well. Not that I'm doing too poorly, but looking back, it's always easier to say, I wish I had known that. I did that for a number of years, and there came the biggest turning point in my life with a family friend who had successfully taken a very large manufacturing company of their own public in Hong Kong. Oh, I'm holding the... Yes, thank you. A company, if you are aware of it, Playmates Holdings Limited. Do you know Playmates? Okay, a lot of you don't. How about Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
I was the man. Don't bow, don't praise me yet. Believe me. That's exactly what I wanted to share with you this evening. Looking back, things were so easy, but a lot of things happen by accident or by default, okay? As a heavy equipment man, what did I know about toys? I asked the chairman of the company, who said, Charles, I need you to come in and be the general manager of the company because we just went public. Their answer to my question, what do I know about toys, was very simple. Customers are all the same. So come on board. And you know what? Fact has proven. I believed them. I thought life was so simple. I thought tractor companies were like marine engine tractor customers were like marine engine customers, and marine engine customers were like toy customers. And how wrong I was. But it didn't have to be a mistake. The idea is to make things work. The first day I reported to work, I had a beautiful office. Then I was presented with this stack of what they call WIP. Do you know what is the WIP? Work in progress. That was the printout of the manufacturing process as captured at the close of last evening. So if you knew the business, you would know which page to turn to find how many pieces of what and how many of them were made to the right degree. I was there. I had that stack of WIP reports. I didn't know what to do with it. So I asked to see an order sheet. So I was presented with another stack of computer printout. Sir, here's your order sheet, our order sheet as of yesterday. There are a lot of names of products. There are a lot of customer names. There are a lot of delivery dates. Then what? I just didn't know what to do. I sat there for a morning. I normally don't like my office door closed, but this morning I had my door closed. Ordered my coffee, looking at these things, and asked myself, why the hell am I here? and what am I going to do for this company that justifies what they're paying me? And how am I going to answer to the board who expected me to take the company to a higher level? I just sat there. I didn't know what to do. Came lunchtime. My boss, the owner of the company, came over and said, "Oh, Charles, how are you? You know, catching up? How you doing? Let's go to lunch." We went to lunch. I remember over lunch, I didn't have much to talk about. I didn't know what I was coming here for. Then he said, "After lunch, I'm going to take you to the production line. Have you been to a toy production line?" I said, "No, I haven't." "Okay, that will be an interesting thing for you to see. I'll show you the production line." That saved my life, because looking back, I believe I was very lucky to have found this very, very good way to begin the business from the very, very bottom, to see how things are made before you know how to make money with them, and before you make your bigger plan. I spent 6 months subsequently on the production line, still going to my beautiful office upstairs, but spending 7 of the 8 hours every day at least down the production line, looking at equipment, looking at what is spraying, looking at why one printing over another on a round barrel can be that accurate. I studied how blow molding was done to make hollow shapes of plastic containers in high accuracy. Those 6 months in my career was probably the most productive, the most ultimately lucrative time I've spent, because based on there, it helped me build onto the next phase of business. Now, Ninja Turtles, this is the name you know. How did that happen? Let me tell you some unofficial, non-secret secrets. Ninja Turtle was conceived by 3 very poor young comic artists, 3 partners, Boston-based. They were artists, they wanted to do comic books. They came up with the idea Ninja Turtles, did black and white editions of them, and could only afford to produce once a month, not weekly. At that time, they sold 13,000 copies, black and white. Hardly could that comic book feed 3 young people, but they survived. A licensing agent by the name of Mark stumbled on it. Like that. God bless him. He not only created a huge fortune for himself and for those 3 young kids, he has established a legend. He signed a contract with them, a representative contract with them, obviously very favorable to him. That he holds all the right, you 3 guys continue to do the books, I'm going to sell your concept to toy companies and hope one of these days somebody must make some toys out of it. That was 1970, no, that was 1986. He went door to door. Nobody was even interested. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, 4 elements of a turtle. They don't belong to one another. Everything seems so weird. So when this guy was turned down one after another, they went down the scales. They went from the Mattels to the Hasbros and the Fisher Prizes. Nobody wanted to talk to him. Then they went down the scale to the Hong Kong companies, and of which we were one. I was in charge. The project was presented to our California office. The California office liked that a lot and sent 2 very thick binders to me with the visuals and the write-ups and the marketing proposals and projections and so on. So I received those 2 binders from my Los Angeles office, and I was supposed to be the boss. I opened it, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What are they? Closed it, put it back on the shelf. A week later, the LA office called. Charles, what happened? I said, haven't read it. Okay, please read it. Another week. Charles, do you like it? Sorry, I haven't read it. Charles, you gotta read it now. We have to reply. So I found some time later and read it. Couldn't go any farther than that, and just closed it, put it back again. Until our LA office lost patience. Now, I don't mind admitting with you. That's exactly what I did. I just put them away. He said, look, the licensor is giving us until the end of next week or something like that. Charles, if you don't like it, give it a no, okay? Now that put some seriousness in me. And I went back and I really read it and kind of feel maybe there's something in it, and took them to show them to my boss. My boss, exactly like my reaction, he didn't know what to do with it. Then he showed his father. His father said, well, at that time his father was already about to retire. He was a typical Hong Kong factory man who opened a factory with 1 molding machine. Now what would he know about Ninja Turtles? So we have to answer. What do we do? And the next week. Then my boss looked at me and said, Charles, you give him the answer. I said, what answer? Well, you decide. Then I said, now this one I claim credit. Why don't we fly to LA and take a look at some details? And we were on a flight the following week, flying to LA, and saw a presentation, and we liked it. We didn't project the success. We're only hoping to sell a few toys. We didn't know it was going to be a hit. We didn't know there was going to be a movie later. We didn't know any of that. If anybody tells you everything was done by design, he'd be lying to you. I've been hailed heroes, but I respectfully decline. I am not at all a hero. I came into the toy industry by default, and we took on Ninja Turtle by default. I mean, if things happen that way, call it our luck. Now, once luck is there, all you need to do is do something right. Do more right things than wrong things, and you'll be okay. And there we were. To tell you how good my foresight was, I must have had an excellent foresight. As I signed on the Ninja Turtles license agreement, I was already planning on setting my own business. I was only 2 years in the toy industry. I saw a very big potential in opening an engineering office in Hong Kong for foreign toy companies who wanted to source from China. On one hand, I was working for Playmates to begin the Ninja Turtle product design and development. On the other hand, I was planning on setting up my own business, calling on my potential customers and doing other things. Then I resigned, thinking that I didn't really pay attention to Ninja Turtles. It was just one of the many product lines we did. Had I known that Ninja Turtle turned out to be what it was, I didn't have to go set up any business of my own. I was already owner of that company. Anyway, this reflects back on my caterpillar start of my career. Machinery, design, mechanism, how things worked. These all intrigued me a lot, which was what led me to what I'm doing today. From 1988 till now, 23 years, I'm still doing the same thing. A little more of what I did. I'm sorry, this didn't mean to be an introduction of myself. I'm just trying to show you how things have been done. I actually opened 2 companies. One was called Yardway Limited, which was a heavy equipment distributorship for Hong Kong and China. And another company, Nippon Toys, which does the toy engineering and design. I took on some old colleagues as my partners, my minority partners, and the company took off rapidly. We were publicly listed in 9 years, and I retired on the 10th year. I actually sold that equipment company. By the time we sold it, we had 20 branches in China, and you must be riding on some of the buses in Hong Kong that I sold. That I don't want to expand upon. Toys. What am I doing? Since I started working at Playmates, I saw the gap in the industry, that production were being forced to move to China. China was not widely open at that time, and people were worried. So I thought, if I could become the bridge between foreign countries and the mysterious China, maybe people could have a little more confidence, and maybe in between I can make a little living. That concept worked. In the old days, what a trading company did was to take an order from overseas, pass it on to a factory, and make something in between. And the biggest goal in life is not to allow the customer to meet the factory, or vice versa. Because if you allow the customer to meet the factory, they'll shortcut you, because there's no added value in between. Now, I specifically addressed that when I started my business. Yes. my business is wide open. We always have three-way meetings. I encourage the customers to visit the factories, and I encourage the factories to participate in my customer meetings. Then, will I be cut out? No. The reason is we're putting in very solid added value in it. What is the added value? The added value is we're here. They don't have to travel to come to China to watch the factories. Number two, we speak the language. Number three, we're manufacturing people ourselves. So we know how to inspect the factory. We can see that they only cleaned the whole place up last night for our visit. We could see all of that. We could see how they pile up the finished products and how they arrange the flow of components and parts for manufacturing. We know whether they're efficient. We can check the quality workshop. We can check the procedure of their chemical testing. All of these we could do a lot better than our customers can, and at a much, much more effective cost. Here we are proving our value. We are offering a service which is well worth people's money. I've been doing it for 23 years. Customers are always complaining costs are too high, but customers have always find our services useful. So that's what I do. Something else that we get involved in, I don't know if you get involved in this or not, would be licensing. Now, if a toy only flies and jumps, its sales point is mechanical function. It's because you want to buy a toy that flies and jumps. But if that same toy that flies and jumps has a Star Wars logo on it and styled like a Star Wars character, it may mean something else altogether. So at this day and age, it's basically two types of toys that are marketed differently. If you sell functions, playability, features, that's one thing. But the hard part of that is that when people get tired of that one play function, your product doesn't sell. If you apply a license on it, your cost is that much higher, because if you go to George Lucas to get a Star Wars license, first of all, it's not so easy. They are very, very choosy of their partners. Secondly, if you get a Star Wars license, your product has to be approved by the George Lucas company at every step in the development. Thirdly, to get a Star Wars license, you have to make a huge commitment, financial commitment, of a minimum royalty guarantee, that if you don't sell a lot of pieces, you'll actually lose money from this minimum guarantee. And then, once you carry all these cost burdens, it will make your toy that much more expensive, which makes it harder for you to sell. So it is not a one-way thing where it's always better to have a license, or it's always better not to have a license. So it's a matter of the size, the shape, the nature of the toy, and the price point you want to get at. Okay. The licensing business is an entirely different and large industry of its own. And if you're interested in licensing, I'll find another evening to come here and tell you more about it. So Jeff, how am I doing? Would you like me to switch focus to anything, or do you have any questions at this point?
Hearing that you have experience in the manufacturing industry in China.
Yes.
In early times, from your point of view, how does it differ from the past and to what is happening now in China in terms of the manufacturing industry now?
Very good question. How was the manufacturing industry, or is it different between the old times and now? The answer is very different. First of all, let's take a look at why manufacturing went to China. Okay, I'll spend 2 minutes telling you how it all happened. After World War II, the Americans has for many decades been the world's biggest single consumer market. Okay, some quick statistics to us. America is 1, the Europe added together is 1, Canada is 1/10, and UK is 1/10, and Japan is 50%, or 0.5. So America, ever since World War II, has been the world's biggest single consumer market. But their labor cost has, ever since the end of World War II, been rising to the point where consumer product costing was not viable any longer. They have been trying Mexico. They've been trying Mexico forever, and it doesn't work. Mexico, it would take another 30 minutes to talk. So let's forget Mexico for now. Mexico simply could not perform. Mexico is actually very, very strategically located, just south of America. Wouldn't it be nice to get them to make something, just ship them up, and Americans are giving them tax breaks as well. And it's still not working. So, one subject aside. America, or Americans, first went to Japan. You probably don't know because of your age. In the 50s, Japan was the biggest, cheapest manufacturing center of the world, like what China is today. When I was a kid, the Japanese cars were so cheap that you wouldn't believe it. I don't know if your parents would mention a Forsegun kerosene can, Jeff, for your benefit. The door panels of the Japanese cars were like kerosene cans. We go like that. That's thin. So Japanese products were very cheap. But Japan took off very, very quickly in the 70s, and they became very rich. So many, and because they were so smart in coming out with consumer products like cameras, equipment, whatever, to sell to you, they quickly moved away from the manufacturing sector because livelihood improved and the labor was not cheap anymore. Taking on the manufacturing were Taiwan and Korea. At that time, the labor costs were good. So things went to Taiwan and Korea. Do you realize the eel that you eat today? Do you know the Japanese eel? It was first grown in Japan, and then the growing went to Taiwan and Korea, and now they're all in China. Like that. So China and Korea quickly took off too and improved their livelihood, and couldn't do low-cost production either. Taiwan opted for high-tech. Korea chose heavy industrial. So each of these two countries found their way out in maintaining and elevating livelihood without losing the economic contributions. So when Japan becomes what it is, Taiwan makes all the chips, does all the high-tech work, Korea takes on the heavy steels and the equipment and the cars, everything went to China. Now, answering your question, what was it like then and what is it like now? Unfortunately, China is experiencing the movement along the same path. In the old days, everything was handmade. In the old days, labor costs were very, very cheap. You could work the labor force as long as you want, 20 hours. Okay? You just pay more. Okay? You just whatever they want to do, here's money to be made, you let them work 20 hours. It's not happening now. So in the old days, things were good because you run the business. Now, things are still good, but you have to run the business properly. Labor costs has gone up high. You have to give them benefits. No more than 10 hours a day, and you have minimum wages, you have the minimum overtime wages, so everything is controlled. I couldn't believe until actually recent times that the China factories were so mechanized. I could not imagine manufacturing robots were being used in China factories. I thought China was dirt cheap. In the early 70s, when Jeff's father and I were colleagues, the ongoing joke was, why would people buy bulldozers in China? People were much cheaper than bulldozers. That was the going joke. Nowadays, there are manufacturing robots in China. So you could see that China is following the same path, which was led by Japan, followed by Taiwan and Korea. My speculation is this will continue, and in a number of years, China will only manage to keep the higher quality, higher pricing production and leaving the super low cost, very totally labor oriented work to maybe outside of China, with Vietnam, Cambodia, Mauritius. But because China is one mass of people, it's not easy to replace China. That 1.3 billion people is a huge workforce. The whole Vietnam has only 80 million people. It doesn't even replace one province. So, as much as people say Cambodia, Indonesia, they're all ready to take over. It's not so easy. I think we are now going through the transitional period. Any more questions?
Yeah, Charles, you talked about manufacturing. You also talked about the production line. But I was wondering if you do some study about your customers before you really put your toy into the production line and always make good decisions.
Right. Now, how do I know about my customers?
Experience, of course, is an important
Right.
element. But is any other?
Well, yes, there are many ways. Now, first of all, who are my customers? Kids.
Only kids.
They're the ones who buy toys. We don't do lifestyle products. I mean, we don't do computers for the elder or for the bigger children. So we're mainly in the toys business. How do we study our customers? One, as you aptly put, experience. We know that girls plays with this, boys play with that. That we know. So when we design toys, we have to, this is one of the first questions we ask ourselves. Boy toy, girl toy, unisex toy. Because your design objective practically dictate the design work that follows. Size, shapes, color, price point. Is it a functional toy or is it an impulse toy? That's one way. Another way is that we have focus group. Are you familiar with focus group?
Like the target.
You put a number of kids of your targets together in a room and watch them play through a one-way mirror and see what they pick up and see what they put down and keep very scientific records of how long they have that piece of toy in their hands and what do they prefer and what do they not prefer. These focus groups can be very helpful, but improperly done, these focus groups could be very misleading as well. So basically, I think the way to find out our end users are basically these. But then, of course, there are a lot more measurements than that. We have to get by the buyer. The buyer dictates our life and death. We can say this is the best piece of toy ever invented. If the buyer doesn't buy it, it's never going to be on the shelf. So in order to make the buyer give the toy a chance of life, we have to do marketing programs to impress them. Like when we have a presentation to the Toys R Us buyer, it's not only the new toys on the table. It is a sizzle film of what the movie commercial is going to be about, how many newspaper or magazine advertising, what PR programs are we going to run, and TV schedules and TV coverage to show the Toys R Us buyer that if you buy my toy, if you feature my toys in your retail outlets, I am going to support the product line with all this marketing work to help you move the inventory from retail to the consumer.
It just means you should think ahead and try to convince them.
very much ahead. Make me a guess. If I have a great toy idea today, and we decided to proceed with it, now being early January 2012, when do you think the toy will see the market?
Twitter, Facebook.
Hmm?
Twitter, Facebook.
Sorry?
Ads on Twitter, Facebook.
Yes, that's one way, but I'm talking about the time schedule. How long does it take to launch a toy?
No idea.
Minimum 2 years, more likely 3 years. So this partially answers your question. Do we do planning? Lots of it. Toys is a very lucrative business, but it's a very dangerous business. If it is only dangerous, nobody would do it. If it is only lucrative, everybody's a rich man. I would equate toys to movie making. Now, what are the similarities? How do you do a movie? I'm not a movie expert, but I'm guessing. You write a script. You find an investor. You find a producer. You find a director. You find a cast. You talk terms with them. Okay? You negotiate fees, talent fees. Doing all that, money on the table, go shoot the film, come back, edit. Most filmmakers are connected to movie distributors. So selling is usually not a problem. But selling in, featuring on screen, doesn't mean you're gonna get rich. If there are no viewers, you're done. So toys is exactly like that. We invest 100% of every dollar that's necessary to make the business work before we see the first dollar to come back. So with a business model like that, do you think we need to plan or not? Very, very serious planning, because the failure of a major program can hurt a company very severely. So we have to have backup plans. We have to, sometimes midway we change course. Sometimes midway we cut. Sometimes midway we put in more investment. It is an everyday challenge to bring a product to life. Believe me, lots of planning. Anything else? How are we doing for time?
Here, let me ask one question.
Yes, sir.
Let's say that we have a lot of digital content creators in the room. So maybe animation, maybe mobile games, maybe console games, whatever. What does the process look like if you're a content producer and you want to license something from your world into the toy world?
Right.
So if we have some animators here, and they think this, I have an animation, it's starting to get some traction, makes sense to start, branching out into other areas to get interest in the animation and also bring some revenue in. How does that work if you're that person?
Very easy. If you are a small, medium-sized IP holder, there are lots of agents who do it for you. There are a number of licensing agents, many licensing agents. One of them was the one who stumbled on the Ninja Turtles. Go to them. If they like it, they'll take you on, they'll feature you, they will show you your property to people that you can't imagine. They usually get something. But then licensees expect licensors to support the property in the way of marketing and promotion. Can you, any of you, make a guess on what is the #1 hottest license, toy license today?
Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear, it was 10 years ago. Today, make a guess. You 100% of them, you know it. If I tell you the name, you know it.
Angry Birds?
Exactly.
Oh.
Angry Bird is now the #1 licensor of toys, gifts, and stationery in the world today. You know what? Angry Bird has made so much money, it is opening its own theme park
In where? Where?
in Europe.
In Europe.
So, in the case of the Angry Bird, they don't need a licensing agent. They just open a licensing department and hire people to do it. And believe me, they are pretty hefty because they're hot. They are asking for a lot of money to do licensing, to license out to you. So in the toy business today, licensing is becoming very, very, very important, because that's one way to fend off similar competition. Just use my example just now about a toy that jumps and flies. If it is a generic toy that jumps and flies, if it doesn't sell, people laugh at you. If it sells, people copy you, legally, and some illegally. Some legally and some illegally. So forget the illegal ones, okay? The illegal ones, you can sue them. What are you gonna do about the legal ones? No way. No way. I don't know if you still visit toy shops, the popular toys usually have many versions. It's because they're being copied many times over. So one way to have your own unique toy is to apply a license on it. One of our customer's product is a softball that people toss with sound and light and everything. He put the Angry Bird license on it. Sells by the ton every day. We can't make it fast enough. But if you don't put that Angry Bird license on it, I bet he doesn't sell 10% of that. Now, that is a success story, but there are also stories the other way around. You spend a lot of money getting a license and it doesn't sell. I still remember in the year 2000, I agreed to help Playmates and went back and helped them to run the company. I was the vice chairman of the board for 3 years while running my own business. I signed myself the Jackie Chan animation license. They actually did a cartoon of Jackie Chan. Sony Entertainment did it. We got the license for a fairly good rate. So we came up with action figures. Because of the clauses, we couldn't put Jackie Chan's face on the doll. We could put the stylized cartoon version of Jackie Chan's face on the action figures. We were monitoring the Jackie Chan animation series, and the rating was very good. But you know what? We couldn't sell toys. Toys didn't sell. So it goes to show that they don't necessarily go hand in hand. License doesn't automatically help, but sometimes they have big help. Thank you.
All right, please join me in thanking Charles.
I hope we wasted everybody's 1 hour's worth of time.
Not at all. Have a good night.
Thank you.